I'm on the channel.
We're live right now.
That's what it says, but I don't
We
see it on the
are
channel.
live.
Allegedly. Allegedly. So this is the fun part about experimenting and not really knowing what you're doing like some of these professionals. Perk, you're normally on a professional live show, but yeah, I don't know if anybody sees it on the channel.
Perk's like,
Let's go. Well, it's recording. We're going for it. All right, cool. We'll roll with it. Well, welcome back. Welcome to the first ever Fish Tank Live presented by Van Horn Law Group and CasaBella Design Group. My name is Seth Levit, and I'm always joined by the man with the best hands. I guess not just the podcast business, Juice, but the live podcast business. He is OJ McDuffie. Juice, it's a special day today, man.
absolutely, it is, Big Seth, man. Anytime we get a chance to get on and chop it up about our favorite team, and and then also be joined by some of our great friends, and also go live, something that we don't usually do. Because Seth, you do a hell of a job of editing most of the time. No flub ups today, man. No
All the
flub ups today,
blemishes
bro.
will be exposed today. This might be the worst idea we've ever had, but we'll see.
Yeah, you and Sevach do a hell of a job putting it down, man. So yeah, we're gonna see how it really rolls today.
Well, I appreciate you setting that up and mentioning Sevach, because there are a lot of faces here. This is a little different experience for the Fish Tank. Producer Sevach, the legendary Sevach. Many of you know Sevach for the epic dad jokes that I think we all miss in Dolphins Twitter, and we need them back. But Sevach has been working behind the scenes in the tank for a couple of years now, editing all the stuff that we do and trying to make Juice and I sound professional. So we appreciate that work. We are also joined by a very familiar face, especially if you listen to the Fish Tank Thursdays or Fridays or whatever they stuck us. But he is South Florida Sun-Sentinel columnist Chris Perkins, also of the Deep Dive, Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk, who tries to steal our thanks for diving in or let's dive in or whatever.
Yeah,
And,
man. I'm glad we got him on, Big Seth. We can get into that too if you want to.
Well, we've
man.
been
No,
telling him.
that's at the attorney level, man. I lawyered up on that, man.
Yeah, well,
our
guess
lawyer is
what?
on board right
So
now.
did we. And without further ado, we're also joined by a presenting partner of the Fish Tank. He is Chad Van Horn of the Van Horn Law Group, Chris Perkins, and he's here just to spend a little time with you. Gonna kick it with us. And at the end of this thing, for anybody who's listening, well, listen, your primary business, I know, is bankruptcy law. So I hope nobody listening needs those services. But if they do, they got the guy that they can go to. But any legal question you have, we're going to have our legal zone at the end of this thing, brought to us by Van Horn Law Group and the man, Chad Van Horn. If they have some questions about, Squid Games, we'll talk about that as well. So,
Man, I'm here for everything. If you see me typing, though, I'm drafting the complaint against Chris. So you can. So I'm doing double duty right now. So just disregard that. But yeah, if you have any legal questions whatsoever, or if you want to talk reality TV, I could help a little bit with that too. And
I love it.
I am from Pittsburgh, so I really know football, unlike some of the guys on here. So.
well, yeah, and we'll talk to Chad Van Horn later. He can keep that Pittsburgh stuff to himself. So, no, we're excited about this live experience. Before we get into all of the fun stuff, the interesting stuff, the Dolphins news that we can debate about and discuss, today also happens to be the, I hate to use the word anniversary, but it's been 3 years to the day that we lost a very special man in the Miami Dolphins community, in the South Florida community, and that's Jason Jenkins. And we could go really do a whole show about just how special Jason was to the entire community, to the organization, but he also was incredibly special to the Fish Tank. He believed in us in a way a lot of people didn't, and I don't know that we would be doing what we're doing right now, Juice, if it weren't for Jason Jenkins. So we miss you, boss man, and wanted to make sure that we gave him some love. Having said that, it has been a newsworthy day, Perk. You were busy, man. I know those fingers and those thumbs have been typing, but we've I thought cut down day was going to make it busy, but we got some additional news, right? There was a waiver claim with was it Juju Brents?
Yep.
So
the cornerback from Indianapolis.
Yeah, who's built like a small forward. I mean, he's a big, long dude there, and I know Travis Wingfield may be more excited. I haven't seen Travis this excited about a waiver wire pickup in quite some time.
Great
so
point.
he was fired up there. Got a tight end on the practice squad, right? I think, or is that official? Was that just a? Was that just?
I don't think it's official yet.
Okay. So we're,
but everybody knows.
Everybody knows, but it's not official yet. Is it Greg? How do we pronounce Greg's last name?
I couldn't tell you. I've heard it, but I can't
Don't
tell
learn
you how to
that one.
pronounce it. I'm just getting Savianaya down, so you know.
And you haven't gotten it down clearly after that
No.
pronunciation.
No. He always, you know what? He told me it rhymed with Hawaii, so Savainaya. That's
There it
There
is.
you go.
Savainaya, yeah.
That's exactly right. That was
Which has nothing to do with the tight end.
But it was a great pivot, and I think it saved all of us on that deal. And Chad's like, I told you I was from Pittsburgh, and you guys don't know what you're talking about. So, all right. So look, cut down day just happened. It's one of the craziest things that happened in the NFL. We've got 90 guys, and you're trying to learn all the names. And Chris, you and all the other beat writers are trying to find interesting stories each and every day. And it's great when there's 90 guys in the roster. But all of a sudden, you got how many guys, 30 something guys that are looking for work and moving around the league, and then our guys coming in and guys going out. I would love to know from you and really everybody in this space, what was maybe the most surprising cut that the Dolphins made here when they trimmed that roster down? Because you wrote a great column. You were, I think, pleased with where the roster stands.
Yeah.
They didn't have a kicker on the roster when you said you were pleased, but you were pleased with where the roster stands. But was there anybody that surprised you? Was there anyone where there was a legitimate surprise that the Dolphins didn't keep somebody on their 53?
Well, we were talking tight end. Pharaoh Brown was a surprise for me because I thought he was developing. He had a good block on the Malik Washington touchdown. I know he had the bobble on the extra point, the 2-point conversion. But I thought Pharaoh came in and gave them what they wanted, which was a good blocking tight end who could catch the ball a little bit. They don't really have a good alternative to him. Darren Waller is still working his way back. He was out there today. He didn't go through the whole practice. Pharaoh Brown was the one that surprised me most, I would think.
Juice, what about you? And I want to ask about Darren Waller because you just opened up a can of worms right here off the top. I appreciate that. But Juice, were you surprised? I mean, you've been calling pregame and postgame and studying this roster. Was there anybody that kind of caught your eye?
Not really. I thought that, we knew it was going to be tough cuts, but I thought we had the most depth, and I don't know if Perk agrees that we had in a long time. I think a lot of guys that we did keep were like, I think Perk even, put this out there a little bit. We're starting to keep some of the guys that we draft. We bring in young guys, and they're starting to stay on our roster. So I really like that part of it. And Seth, that's something you've been clamoring for a long time, develop. But you talk about Seth doesn't mind us keeping the draft picks. He wants to keep them after they reach that 3 to 4 year threshold. Right. That's one of the biggest beefs that he has. You know what I mean?
Especially
for me, I thought that
rounds,
Yeah, no doubt. I think it shaped out pretty well, man, the way we thought it might. And, there's still a lot of work to be done. You see, we're still getting guys off the waiver wire.
Yeah.
There's 1,200 guys, man, that lost a job, yesterday afternoon. And so now, we got to figure out which ones would be a perfect fit for us. And hopefully they clear waivers. And hopefully once they do, they want to come down here to Miami and be a part of what we are. So, but no true surprises for me, Big Seth.
So I'm with you. I think maybe the one guy that to me could have been labeled a surprise, and he was a late addition, but just given the state of the cornerback room was Hilton. I think that was a guy some people had penciled in as like, oh, well, we're even going to give this guy some vet rest, that he's going to be locked in as a slot corner. And next thing you know, you get a guy from the University of Florida, and he might surprise you, and you get a young guy who could play physical. Jam Master Jay, right? My guy, Jason Marshall Jr. And next thing you know, Mike Hilton is on the waiver wire again. So I thought that was an interesting cut. But yeah, there were no shocking to me. I think some fans were upset that some of these guys that were some pass rushers that were showing some promise were let go. But it was a competitive room. I just don't know how you could have kept all of those guys on the roster.
No, you know what? Quentin Bell a little bit, but because he had special teams value, I was a little surprised to see him go. They let go of Isaiah Johnson today. He's a long corner, kind of like Juju Brents, who they just picked up. I would expect that Isaiah will be back, but he's got to clear waivers. There was somebody, Derek McClendon was another guy, edge rusher, that he had shown some good stuff, but he didn't have enough special teams value, I thought. Channing Tindall had special teams value, but that inside backer, that off-ball backer room, that might be the best in the NFL when you look at Jordan Brooks, who led the team in tackles last year, Terrell Dotson, who led the team in interceptions, Willie Gay, who was one of the best performers in training camp, and then KJ Britt. There was really just no space for Channing Tindall. So, but there were some guys with a little bit of special teams value. Mike Hilton had no special teams value that I was a little surprised that they let go. Craig Aukerman, the new special teams coach,
he's here to
keeping
play.
a lot of veterans, and special teams look immediately better. I don't know what you guys think, but they look immediately better. So Aukerman, I trust him. He knows what he's doing, but those were a couple of guys with special teams value that I thought would be tough cuts, and it wasn't enough as it turned out.
Yeah, you talk about Tindall. And I might talk about him a little bit later, Juice, as well. But they have been keeping draft picks, which is great to see, guys. And you hope that some of those guys can make it to the next contract. But that 2022 draft, look at it. So Tindall, time ran out on him. Eazy-E Ezukama is gone. Skylar's already gone. There's not a whole lot left there from that 2022 draft. I kind of thought that the bulb had burnt out on Tindall as it was. And, all the athleticism, and I guess that you would think that would make you a great special teams player, but I'm with you, Perk. That's probably that front seven. There's just a lot of depth there, man. There's a lot of depth there. And if you're not bringing it, I don't see how you can maintain a roster spot.
Yeah, and you know what? And let's give Chris Grier some credit, although I get a lot of social media pushback every time I try to give that man a little bit of credit. But this draft, he did a good job, especially with the guys up front, right? When you look at Kenneth Grant, and you look at Savai Naya, and you look at Jordan Phillips. You mentioned Jason Marshall II, who is probably going to be your starting nickel, a position that he's never played before. Zeke Biggers. These guys, they did a pretty nice job. You're going to have some nice beef up front, some nice youth. And really the last couple of years, if you look what they did at the line of scrimmage with Chop Robinson, Patrick Paul, Kenneth Grant, Savai Naya in the draft, and then James Daniels in free agency, they have focused on the line of scrimmage. And especially in the draft, there's a youth movement at the line of scrimmage. So let's see how this turns out. But this draft, it looks like Chris Grier did a very nice job initially.
Juice, about time you gave him credit. Yeah, it's about damn time you gave him some credit, Perk. You know what I mean? We do tend to get on Chris a lot, and it's hard to give him credit a lot of times, but I think you're right, man. Our biggest issue, and we thought it's always been our biggest issue, has been the trenches, and I think they addressed that very well. In the draft, as well as you talk about the free agents and with Daniels. So I thought it was big for us. We're a much more physical team. And, Seth and I, and also with Travis Wingfield, we talked about this, Perk, like the fact that they went to Chicago and Detroit to test their physicality in those joint practices. And I think that was the main focus. So let's go see how we stand up with these guys. We know they got pushed around a little bit, in both of those practices, but I think they maintained their own after a while. And I thought the games were much better than, some starters weren't playing. But I think we've gotten a lot more physical as a football team because of the guys that you mentioned.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to see them use that physicality. And I think this part of it is on Mike McDaniel offensively. Let's call some physical plays, right? On first down, I want to see Ollie Gordon running up the middle behind Aaron Brewer and Savai Jonah. I'm just going to call that man Jonah.
Go with what you know, man.
Jonah, right? And James Daniels. I want to see him on first and second down. Let's not wait till 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 when it's predictable. Set a physical tone. We're going to hit you in the mouth. I thought they did a good job of that in Detroit coming back from that first practice and then the second day of practice and in the game. I thought they did kind of have some struggles against Jacksonville. It was the 1s against the 2s, the Dolphins starters against Jacksonville's number 2s, and they did have some struggles, but whatever. I like that I want to see a physical tone set right from the start. We're going to hit you in the mouth. We're going to make you respect our run game so much you have to drop that 8th man in the box, and then we're going to go over the top. And we're going to hit you that way. That's what I want to see from this offense. Hopefully Mike McDaniel calls it like that because, again, I think they're moving in that direction with the personnel they've acquired in the last couple of years.
Juice, Perk has been screaming for this smash mouth football. I think he wants like a wing tee, Juice wants 11 wide receivers on offense, and Perk wants, I think, 9 offensive linemen, a quarterback, and a tailback. Like, so
Chad knows. Chad's a wide receiver. Chad feels the same way about wide receivers.
Man, we're all divas, right? We're all open. We all need the ball right now, and the league would be better if it was just us.
Boom. See?
Oh man. Oh man. Man, I'm gonna have to introduce y'all to Howie Roseman or somebody like that, man. To tush push, something. Saquon Barkley. Look,
can you run that for 4 straight downs? Can you talk about 3 yards in a cloud of dust for sure? That's Jiminy Christmas. So speaking, you know what, Juice, you said something. You said it's about time that Perk gives Chris Grier some credit, and I find it interesting. When Chris Grier typically gets credit from Chris Perkins? When Perk is saying that Mike McDaniel hasn't done enough with all the talent that he has in his roster. So he'll say that the roster is too talented for Mike McDaniel to not have won a playoff game. And then when we talk about why he hasn't won a playoff game, Perk's telling me that the roster construction is problematic. And so I need you to help, because I just saw it again on Twitter. It was going back and forth. I'm like, help me understand how the roster construction is problematic, but yet Mike McDaniel hasn't done enough with all the talent he has on the roster, because I can't figure it out.
Here's the deal. They've done a good job in getting players, right, and getting talent. I don't think that Mike McDaniel has utilized the talent correctly. And so that's what I talk about with the style of play. It's so finesse. It's so cutesy. Hit somebody in the mouth. Knock them back off the line of scrimmage. You bring a 7-on-7 mentality to tackle football. These dudes want to play some football, right? And so let's unleash that. I didn't like that last year they let go of Chris Brooks, because that was somebody who could do that. I thought they did a good job this year with Alexander Madison, but he's now out with the neck injury. I like what we saw from Alexander Madison. I like that they're going to a more physical style. I like the way Detroit plays. I like the way Philly plays. Both of them have the receivers, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, you got to like that. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You can still chuck the ball down the field and have a physical game with Saquon Barkley and Jahmyr Gibbs, Penei Sewell, these guys. That's what I want to see from the Dolphins. It's so finesse and it's so cutesy. 3rd and 1, jet sweep, hit somebody in the mouth. And to do that, you need the Chris Brooks, Alexander Madison, Ali Gordon, Jonah, James Daniels, Aaron Brewer. Now that you've got them, let's use them. So it's a good thing that Chris Grier has finally gotten these guys, a collection of these guys, a concerted effort the last couple of years. Now it's up to Mike McDaniel. Call the plays. 1st down, hit them in the mouth, knock them off the line of scrimmage, let them know you're in for a long day, not in for a cutesy day.
Yeah.
Seth, real quick, as the resident lawyer, since you just lawyered Chris, you got to mark that. So Chris Grier is doing a great job, right, Chris?
Both of them have done a good job of collecting talent. Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want that on the record. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, you know what? The thing that I give
legal perspective.
he's building a case against me. I'm going to be destroyed in about 30 minutes. I'm going to be destroyed.
Oh, I love it. So good.
But you know what? I'll say this. I have given Chris Grier credit repeatedly. The man finds cornerbacks, right? And so I've said this, whether it's Kader Kohu and Storm Duck as undrafted free agents, whether it was Byron Jones as a free agent, whether it was Jalen Ramsey as a trade, whether it's Xavier Howard as a draft pick, Kendall Fuller, they're not all Pro Bowlers. They're not all Sam Madison or Pat Surtain. I'm not saying that at all, but the man is able to find corners. That's why I find this year so interesting and so intriguing from that standpoint. Cornerback is the weakest point on the team. They keep searching. We'll see what they've got in Jack Jones. I like what they've got in Storm Duck. We'll see what they've got in Rasul Douglas. We'll see what they've got in Juju Brents, some of these other guys. But I wish they'd have drafted a cornerback higher. They got Jason Marshall Jr., right? I was just mentioning him. He's playing the slot. He's done a good job. I have faith in Chris Grier getting cornerbacks. I'm surprised that they haven't done better at that yet, but I give Chris Grier credit all the time. You can look on Twitter. You can look at what I've written. The man finds cornerbacks. That's his superpower.
He's feeling the weight of that legal.
Yeah. I think what it boils down to, more importantly, I think we talk about the talent. You talk about Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, but you got to also talk about Anthony Weaver now when you're talking about some of these guys you're talking about on defense. I think Anthony Weaver or DC is talking really about, getting these big uglies that can apply pressure where you can protect some of these guys. We haven't even mentioned Minka Fitzpatrick being back in the fold, of this defense as well. You got a bunch of guys down the middle. It's kind of like in baseball: catcher, pitcher, shortstop, second baseman, center fielder. That's where you got to be tough. I think we've gotten tough right there as a football team, where we got some guys down the middle that we can actually run the ball down the middle and smash them out a little bit, Chris, like you're talking about. So we'll see how that defense shakes out and how much they can protect some of these corners. But we are bringing in some corners. Rasul, like you talked about, Brent, as he talked about. Who knows what they can bring, what value they'll bring to the football team.
Yeah, and I like what Weave has done. I mean, you had the number 4 defense in the league last year. I think they were number 9 against the run, number 9 against the pass, and number 10 in scoring defense. He did a good job. Weave did a really good job. And if you consider that was without Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips for a lot of the time.
Right,
so,
right.
And then, people talk about the safeties, Jordan Poyer and Javon Holland not being engaged all the time.
They were terrible.
That defense did a really good job, right? I mean, so give Weave some credit there. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Look at, listen, we bring in the legal. I love it. Chad Van Horn shows up. All of a sudden, Perk is on his best behavior.
Hey, no, listen.
All on the record, Perk. I don't blame you.
Oh no, listen. This is stuff that I've tweeted. Now look, I predicted the Dolphins to win 9 games this year.
Yeah.
So that's on the record. In 2022, I predicted 8, 8 and 9, and then in 2023 and 2024, I predicted 10 and 7. So it's, to me, my big thing with this team is they can't win against playoff teams. 4 and 16 against playoff teams. The last 2 years, 2 and 10 against playoff teams. Tua has started all 12 of those games. He's got 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. And then when I talk about Waddle and Tyreek Hill, neither of them has a 100-yard game against a playoff team in the last 2 years. They've only been together for 3 years. So that's 12 games that they don't have a 100-yard game, and that's because you don't have a physical run game. They're going to play that too deep safety. They're going to disrupt them at the line of scrimmage to throw off the timing that's so critical to the short and intermediate pass game. And then if they get by that, you've got double coverage deep. You've got to run the ball and get them to drop that 8th man into the box. That's where Ollie Gordon, where they were thinking right with Alexander Madison. We'll see. But Mike McDaniel has got to call a more physical game and let people know the days of cutesy finesse 7-on-7 football are over. We're not going to be so predictable. We're going to hit you in the mouth. We're going to keep you off balance. We're going to keep you guessing defensively, and you're going to have to adjust to us.
Well, let me jump in real quick, Chris. My paralegal is looking through all your tweets right now, so
all right, let's do it.
We might have to draft a defamation lawsuit right after this as well, because I'm reading some of these tweets, and I think Chris Greer might have a good case against you. I don't know, but we'll check this out later. We'll revisit this at the end of the show.
Never come back. They may never come back, but don't worry. It looks like we'll be able to find you anyway. Good stuff. The cutesy thing is what's cracking me up. The cutesy thing. But what you did say that I could not agree with you more is the idea of, and Mike McDaniel, he just said it again recently, is that idea of being your best when your best is required. Juice and I talk about that all the time. And I think that's what we have not seen enough of is, I'm sorry, I just got caught. This chat is great. I don't know if you're paying any attention. So Shake just said, Chris Perkins, I got to throw this one up there. Chris Perkins is the Michael Jordan of beat writers. I mean, look at that. What about that? So,
I'll take it.
I got to give some love since we've been a little tough on you. He said, I'll take it. In fact, put it up there. That is something that I think has indeed haunted this team collectively, but with some of the best players, we've seen that. And you could argue some of the play calling. I mean, I think some of that we've had instances in big games where, It seemed like maybe plays weren't getting in on time. Juice, I can't tell you how many times you've said to me, I do not want to hear the word miscommunication again. We're 14 weeks into the season. Don't talk to me about no damn miscommunication, right? So, those issues, whether it's the quarterback play, whether it's Tyreek Hill dropping a touchdown pass in the end zone against a potential playoff team, those things can't happen because those guys have earned the contracts that they have to a certain extent. And that's why you pay them the money, is to make those plays when they matter most. And so that, to me, is kind of the next step that certain players on this team have to take. Tyreek has done it, not necessarily here. He's done it we haven't seen enough of it here. And I think some of the other young, quote unquote, stars on this team have to take that step as well. Would you agree, Juice?
Yeah, I was going to say, I had a conversation today. I do a radio station in Orlando for iHeartRadio. And they asked me, is Tua a star? And I said, he's not a star yet. You can't. Stars come up big in big time moments. You know what I mean? Fourth quarters, fourth period of a basketball game, whatever it might be. Eighth inning in a baseball game, gets up there and hits a home run, or your pitcher, throws 8 shutout innings in a World Series or whatever it might be, playoff game. That's when, and Perk just put that number out there. That 2 and 10 number is huge right there. When you're talking about, are you a star? How do you show up in the biggest moments, in the biggest games against some of the best competition? Those are stars, and that's what you've seen some of these other guys get to. And that's why they're labeled stars. And that's why that's the level that Tua has to get to. That 2 and 10 number was shocking, man. That's a great number for everybody to ponder on where Tua is at right now and where Tua needs to get to. The whole team as a whole. Look, man, when's the last time we won a playoff game? 2006?
When's the last time you put on a uniform, Juice?
2001. 2001.
Yeah.
That's a damn shame, man. For a team, when I got to the Dolphins, was the winningest program in sports, not just football, the winningest program in sports, all 4 sports, was the Miami Dolphins. And for us to have to deal with this mediocre football, like Chris said, 10-7, 8-9, 9-8, that's us. Picking in the middle of the draft all the time. That has been us. But it all starts with number 1. It really does. And now number 1's got to get over the hump. He's got to win some games in the fourth quarter. Yep. Hell, I always say this because I'm old. But hell, we got in the huddle with Marino down a touchdown or a field goal. We knew we were going to be in range or had a chance to win it at the end. I don't have that confidence right now. And I want to have that. When we're winning by a couple of touchdowns, I'm still holding on to the edge of my seat to see if we're going to hold on to the wins. So that's what I think has got to happen. We've got to have that type of mentality. And Chris, you hit it on the head too. We have to be able to run that ball, run 4-minute offense at some point if we have to run the clock out, but we have to smash somebody in the mouth from beginning to end of the football game until they say uncle. Dudes ain't even getting tired down here in Miami anymore. We're not wearing anybody out. We used to wear people out, but they just get tired, and next thing you know, the fourth quarter, it was a wrap. So we got to figure that out too.
Apparently too cutesy. I think the issue is cutesy ball is what was that the quote, Chad?
That's the quote.
Okay.
That's the quote. But is this a true stat? Like OJ was in the league last time you guys won a playoff game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been 25 years. It was the 2000 team.
Technically that game happened in 2000.
It was the 2000
season.
2001. Yeah.
That's right. That's great clarification.
Then they cut me, Chad. Then they cut me. Can we go back and sue them for cutting me, Chad?
Yeah. Wow, man. Y2K happened, and then you got cut, and then the Dolphins just stopped making the playoffs and winning playoff games.
Time's right up. It's all right there.
It's all, Sevach said it's all starting to make sense now. Well, so, and Dolph fans, every year we go into this thing with hope that this will be the year where that changes. If you follow the predictions in some of the national papers, you got no shot, right? We've seen everything from 5-12, 6-11. Chris Perkins says it's going to be a winning season, but you're looking at a mediocre winning season and another 9-8 season. Perk, you made that prediction at least a few weeks ago, right?
Yep.
I don't know when you actually wrote that, but now the roster has developed. There's been some changes. There's been, where do you feel, having seen some preseason games, having seen what the 53-man looks like at this moment, do you still feel 9-8 is the number?
I do. And the main reason, look, if this team stays, I always say reasonably healthy, you're going to win 9 games, and I think that you're more likely to win 10 games than to win 8 games. The problem that I see is the depth. And offensively, the depth is shaky almost everywhere. I don't trust it at quarterback. I don't trust it at offensive line. Wide receiver, you've got talent with the Washingtons, right? Malik and Taj and NWI and Nick Westbrook Akine. But Nick is the only one that's proven. Did I mispronounce that, Seth? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at our guy Sam Marcoux. He said your prediction was made before Kendall Lamb returned. So let's big that's back in the house. So
that's true. But look, Kendall Lamb and Jeff Wilson is back also. They're 2 of my favorite guys in the locker room. But your depth is suspect almost across the board offensively. I like Ollie Gordon II, but he's a rookie, so he's unproven. Defensively, I trust the depth. On the front 7, I trust the depth. I even trust the depth at safety, right? Where you've got Minka, as Juice said. I get more faith in Elijah Campbell the more I see him. We'll see what Ife Melifonwu can do. Ashton Davis looks like he's going to be healthy for the opener. We see him out at practice. That's a good safety rotation right there. So I've got cornerback is the only place that I've got questions defensively as far as starters and depth. But defensively, I like the depth. Offensively, I don't like the depth. But across the board, I do like the starters. And let me just say this to take up for Tua a little bit. I'm not a Tua basher, but I'm not.
You know a few.
No, I'm not. I'm not a Tua basher.
You know a few. I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, I know a lot. But let me say this about Mike McDaniel and the way that they call plays, because look, Tua needs help, and they aren't getting this man help. You look at San Francisco, who the quarterbacks they've been to the Super Bowl with recently, right? Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy G, and Brock Purdy. You look at Philadelphia, they won a Super Bowl with Nick freaking Foles. Nick Foles, a career backup. And you guys know when Carson Wentz went out, he was going to be MVP. He had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That team was so good, it was able to sustain and win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, a reserve, a career reserve. Jalen Hurts is nothing great, right? He's a good quarterback. He's not in the top 4 in the league, right? We know who the top 4 are, right? Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. Everybody else just kind of falls into place. Look at what Detroit is doing with Jared Goff. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship. Is he better than Tua? I don't think so. So I think it's the system. It's how you play. Get that quarterback some help. Get Tua some help. Be more like Philly and San Francisco and Detroit. That's what I think that they should do.
I don't want to.
Well, we had a great quarterback, Seth, and you know that, and we didn't help him out at all. And I agree with you 1,000%, Perk. You know, I mean, everybody always wants to go back to that. They always talk about Marino never won anything. Well, you know what? One year we had an offense, no defense, no offense, and never put everything all together, man. And look at what Philly did. Go back to New England. New England's defense was so underrated in what they were doing when Tom Brady was winning his championships. They always had a top 10 defense, and people never talked about that. You know, you look at it, man. Tom Brady go down, score a touchdown, defense get a 3 and out. Tom Brady gets the ball back. They're either up 10-0 or 14-0 right away. That's how you win football games, you know. And I think that's underrated. Philly's defense, they've murdered the draft the last 2 years for their defense, and that's why they've become so great as well. So I think it's like, I mean, that's part of the deal right there, man. The help is what's needed. You have to do it all in 3 phases. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's the truth.
So I couldn't agree with you more, Juice. But since you are fired up, and I can, I've known you long enough where I can
always fired up, Big Seth.
That blood is starting to boil. I don't know if you saw it in the comments, but Shake, who is watching right now, said that his boss is the current Wiffle Blast champion, and he's just putting it out there.
Oh man,
so
you know what?
I know we're here for Dolphins talk.
Don't make me. I mean, how many times I've won it 2 out of the last 4 years, Big Seth. You know what I mean? My squad is dope.
Hardware? Where's the hardware, Juice?
I got hardware all over this house, man. I got all kinds of Wiffle Blast stuff. It's all over the place, bro. You know what I mean? So tell them to come see us. Come see us this year. We ready.
As the resident lawyer, I got to hold Juice accountable. He said 2 out of the last 4 years. Who won it last year?
We didn't.
Apparently, Shake's boss. Apparently, Shake's boss.
Well,
For those who don't know, is a fundraising event for us at the Jason Taylor Foundation. When I'm actually doing my day job here, sitting in the office. So this is good. I feel like I'm doing my job now, plugging the wiffle blast. But yeah, Juice Crew had. You guys weren't back to back. I thought you were back to back at one point.
Now we won, lost, but we we always get to the Final Four championship. Hey man, some teams come in there a little stacked, man. I got half my team moved to Tallahassee.
You did have
no
to
excuses
rebuild.
now. I had
no
to
excuses, but you're making
squad.
excuses. No excuses, but you're making excuses. Come on,
wait, did you rebuild or did you reset? That's what I want to know, because that was a new term.
We reloaded, man. We reloaded. We are back. We got close this last year. We got to the Final Four. The year before that we won it in not even in dramatic fashion. We just kicked a lot of ass, like what we do. You know what I mean? We blast. That's what we do.
Travis Winfield would say there was dramatic fashion, that hardware all over the house.
Travis, Travis is our go-to guy, man. That's what we picked him up from the Pacific Northwest, and man, we haven't stopped rolling since then, man. We had to trade him though for small. We had the small trade we had to bring him all the way this way, because the Dolphin team tried to snatch him up. They tried to snatch him up, and so we, him and Mike Millius joined us this year.
Yeah.
So our squad we're ready to come back and get back at it. I'm in the chair now. I'm in the lounge chair right now for the blast. Now I can't play anymore, man. I'm retired. I'm retired right now. And but I'm a hell of a manager, bro. I'm a hell of a manager.
You are.
I'll take that to the grave, Chad.
Love it.
I don't know if you see, Dolphins Talk just said that you're giving out NIL money to build your wiffle basketball.
Hey man, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Come on, man. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Just win, baby.
Too good.
I think we need some collective.
Hey, you know what I got it with, Seth? I got my team.
Wiggle blast.
And I probably shouldn't even say this, but it's like a 12-pack and pub subs. That's how we got it. That's how we did it, bro.
I mean, that's all part of it. That is all. Oh God, too good.
Yeah.
Too good. So, Perk, you were saying you're concerned about the corner position, and I think everybody was. Who asked Chris Greer that today, and he threw the or we're more concerned about it than you are. Was that Hal?
That was Hal Hammond, Palm Beach folks.
So Hal hit it with that, and Perk just. I thought Chris took it in stride. But there was, I don't know that I've seen more outrage over the quote unquote lack of attention to the cornerback position. And people are going nuts now because they're claiming people off the waiver wire. But the room looks different, right? Mike Hilton's out. You've got some young guys out. Jam Master Jay is in. And then Rasul Douglas just signed. And that was somebody that they had flirted with. And I think he pulled the old T-Buck. I'm going to skip training camp and let me know when you guys are ready to suit up and put on the pretty uniforms. The room looks different now. Do you feel any better about the cornerback room? Do any of you guys feel better about the cornerback room than you did a month ago?
I don't because look.
All right.
Let's face it.
Dad, put that down. Yeah.
I put that down. Rasul Douglas, Xavier Howard got a job before Rasul Douglas. Okay, so
wait a minute. Maybe he took a job. Maybe he took a job before Rasul Douglas.
He did, but the Dolphins have been flirting with Rasul for weeks. They should have had him in here. They knew that what they had was inadequate, right? We all knew that. Again, I give Chris Greer a lot of credit for being able to find cornerbacks. That's his superpower. I'm surprised that it's taken this long, that this room is so ragged. Right? Storm Duck is your number one. Your number two is an unproven rookie at the slot who has never played it before. The Kader Kohu injury was crushing. It was absolutely crushing. The Ramsey trade was crushing. But as they try to recover, why are you trading out of the third and fourth rounds? You knew that you needed a cornerback. And look, I know that you traded up to get Jonah, who I'm not going to pronounce his last name. I know that, and he's a good pick. I have no problems with picking Jonah, but if I'm not mistaken, there were like 12 cornerbacks drafted in the third and fourth rounds. One of those guys could have helped you. And so cornerback is a much more crucial position than guard to me.
That's an interesting because there's a lot.
You
of
already had
James
Daniels.
The interior line for 2 years, I think the fan base and the local media were screaming that the Dolphins needed to upgrade the interior offensive line. They wanted them to draft. There for 2 years in the draft, people wanted them to use a first-round draft choice on a center or guard. That's how I think people were. I don't want to say. I was going to use a term that I shouldn't use. People were losing their minds over this idea that the Dolphins were not beefing up the interior line, and so they saw a guy that they felt was the right guy, and they went up and got him. I'm with you on that 4th round pick. A guy you didn't mention though is Jack Jones. You said your second best corner is a rookie, but what about Jack Jones? You got to give. I think there's some potential playmaker there. And if your 5th round pick at cornerback ends up being, I think it'd be interesting to see how he performs, and if he plays more than some of these guys that were drafted in those 3rd and 4th rounds, then were they geniuses?
Well, I wouldn't say geniuses. I would say that you hit. I mean, look, but you already had James Daniels, right? On draft night, you already had James Daniels.
Okay.
So to me, I would have rather gone cornerback earlier as opposed to going guard. I don't. That's the choice they made. So Jonah is here and he's a good player. But to me, in that situation, when you knew Jalen Ramsey is out the door, Kendall Fuller wasn't there. All you had was Cater at that point. You needed a outside corner, and you chose to trade up to get Jonah. And that's great. You finished off the offensive line, but at a more crucial position, you have 4 starting offensive linemen at that point. It's either get us a starting.
Line up with 5, Kirk.
but Seth, I mean, you had no outside cornerback, and you still don't. I mean, let's see what Storm can do. I like Storm, but I think that I would have rather have had a starting caliber cornerback than the starting caliber guard. You already had a guard, but that's neither here nor there. I mean,
it's something to watch, and Chad has noted it. His team has noted that's something to watch. I think it'll be interesting to look at the cornerbacks that were taken ahead of Jam Master Jay and see how he ends up playing this season. I think that'd be a fun thing to follow. We will follow that. Speaking of fun things, I want to roll into this new thing that we're going to try here in this live experience, and it's a new segment. And I can't wait now looking at this thing after everything we just talked about. It's a new segment, and it's called I Tried to Tell Y'all. So I'm going to kick this thing off and say I tried to tell y'all that Channing Tindall didn't have it. Channing Tindall was a guy that had incredible athleticism. He was drafted by this team. He wasn't a 1st round pick, but he was the first pick that the Miami Dolphins had that particular year in 2022. Came from the University of Georgia, where they were just rolling, winning national championships, and he runs like a deer. But man, oh man, when a guy seems, and I'm not trying to bag on the guy, but when a guy seems lost in your system, and then he seems lost in the next defensive coordinator's system, and you start to see him fall in the depth chart and have trouble getting on the field, and I guess he was starting to play a little more special teams. I just didn't think it was ever going to happen here, and ultimately they pulled the plug and decided it wasn't going to happen here either. So that's I tried to tell y'all. I tried to tell y'all it wasn't going to happen with Channing Tindall, Perk, and it did. So, Juice, you're up next. What'd you try to tell?
You know what, Big Seth? I tried to tell y'all that wide receivers reign supreme. I tried to tell y'all this. Chad told you this too at the beginning of the show. We're a team that has kept 6 wide receivers because you know what? None of them can go on the street because they get snatched up like that. And they're starting to show how valuable they are. We need 11 more guys playing wide receiver, because we got, guys get tired from running. You know what I mean? It's what we do. We run until we're exhausted, because other guys they don't run like we run, Big Seth. So I tried to tell you guys, and I saw the comments. Somebody talk about the Washington Twins. I like that. Really like that Washington Twins. That's pretty dope right there. Those dudes are dope, man. Great pickup by the Dolphins a couple of last year. In the 6th and 7th round. We already know what Tyreek and those guys can do. D. Estrich had a hell of a, preseason and a hell of a camp, I thought. Perk talked about picking up Akine. Those are great jobs by the wide receivers, but they're so good, and it was such a tough cut that we have 6 guys on this team that play wide receiver. I expect sometime we're going to go out there with 6 wide receivers on the field. One's going to be in Wildcat. The other one's going to be right next to him. The other 4 are going to be flanked somewhere else. And we're going to run, and pass the ball. That's what we're going to do.
Who are you putting in the wild as a Wildcat quarterback, Juice, with that squad?
I'm going with Eskridge.
Okay. Have we seen his arm? Do we know? Does he have an OJ McDuffie arm?
No, we can all throw the rock, though. We're both talented guys out there.
We're wideouts. This is what we do.
I seen Tyreek with that left hand. His left hand throw is kind of weak, but, I think the rest of them, we can chuck that rock pretty well, man.
Look at this comment. Literally, as you're talking about we can all throw, this guy said, Juice, go Dolphins, Mr. McDuffie. You came down to the Bahamas, Paradise Island, and passed me a football. I caught it. Never forget it. How about that? There it is. OJ McDuffie proving that he's got the arm.
Hey, I'm always chucking the rock, man. That's Chad. Chad's hands are broken from the last time we played.
Look at my fingers. Look at my fingers. Literally broken.
He does it on purpose, Chad. Can I say this? He does. I remember. I'll never forget it. We were doing the joint practices. We went all the way out to San Diego back when the Chargers were in San Diego, and we're standing out there, and the weather was just the best weather that you'll find in the National Football League. And I'm kind of standing under the goalposts and jog and stretch, and I'm holding the football, and Juice, he's open. He's always open. So I throw him the ball. We start playing a little catch, and my hands were so red by the and I kept backing up. And he knows it. It's just alpha dog, and he's just right, Chad. You've been there. I'm like, come on, man. These laces and those balls were not deflated. Like, it was rough.
Yeah, no touch on those passes. I mean, it's just straight line drives, fastballs.
One speed only, baby. One speed only. That's it. I don't have a change up.
What's a touch?
Hey, Seth, Big Seth, did you catch it right there, or did you catch it in the chest? Because if your hands are good,
I caught it where he put it, but I was gonna make sure to catch it, and I paid the price. Yeah, and then he daps you up and he breaks your hands with those big mitts of his. Anyway, that's what Juice tried to tell us, and he continues to try to tell us. Chris Perkins, what did you try to tell us?
I tried to tell y'all that this front seven had a lot of potential. Now I'm trying to tell y'all they can be game changers and game winners. I like this front seven. And look, and they went out and they got even more depth when they got Matthew Judon, right? So y'all know the names. You know that Zach Sealer is there. Benito Jones is there. Kenneth Grant is there. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Matthew Judon. Already talked about the inside backers, right? Jordan Brooks and Terrell Dodson, KJ Britt, Willie Gay Jr. I like this front seven. I think when you talk about the deficiency at cornerback, the cornerbacks will have a little bit of time to develop because of the front seven, because of the safeties. And I like that. You talk about the quarterbacks that they're going to face when you look at Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. Throw that front seven at them. They're not going to be as good. They're going to have a little fear in them. And I was talking to Matthew Judon about this, and I said, tell me what a front seven can do. And he's like, the quarterback's eyes are going to be on us. They're not going to be downfield. He's going to be wondering about where's the rush coming from? Is my protection good enough? They can be disruptive. They can be game changers. They can be game winners. I like this front seven.
There you go. How about that? Chris Perkins with a little positivity.
Love it.
The Michael Jordan of beat writers.
That's right.
I'm pulling that from the crowd. Last time I tried to give a name to a beat writer, we had Omar Kelly on recently, and I called him the most polarizing man in the beat. And people lost their minds. They got mad that I called him polarizing. They were so mad. Like wait a minute. Like that wasn't okay either. All right, we're going to pivot into our legal zone. Now that Chad has filed everything that he can at Chris Perkins throughout this entire podcast, we're going to pivot to our legal zone. If you have questions, legal questions, doesn't matter what they are, throw them in the chat. Chad's here to help answer them. While you're doing that, I got the
first question, Big Seth.
Yeah. Hold that thought really quickly. Juice is first. Get your comments in there. I got to put this up there for our guy Sam, since we just did an appearance with Perfectville. So Sam said Washington Twins is his, Juice. He came up with that, and you can get the shirt. I know.
I gave him credit.
Put the website.
I gave him credit.
Put the website in the chat there too, Sam. Let's sell a shirt. I tried to tell y'all that doing squats while eating nachos was a bad idea.
Sam's off the chain, man.
Oh, too good. Too good. All right, Juice, you got the first legal question in our legal zone for Chad Van Horn. Perk might have one too, but he may not want to disclose some of these things. You're up, Juice.
Chad, My question to you, Chad, is what is the biggest misconception about people that actually file bankruptcy?
Yeah, the number one misconception, especially down here in South Florida, where you can go out and literally spend thousands without knowing it, is most people that are filing bankruptcy are just overspending and partying in South Beach, going to live, going to 11, enjoying life. The number one reason for filing bankruptcy is because of medical debt. And something that you gentlemen talked about earlier, how many people right now are unemployed in the NFL that just
1,200 lost jobs.
1,200 young men, mostly young men, are out there figuring out how to make ends meet. There's only so many of those jobs available, and it's amazing how that line is so thin between making 6-7 figures a year to making, $50,000 a year. And these guys have to get after it. They have to spend money on training. They have to spend money on their bodies, on nutrition. And the number one reason that people file for bankruptcy is medical. Number two is job loss. So you have a lot of people there. Obviously, I've known you for a long time, Juice. You are the most positive person I know, and you have to have that positive mental mindset going in. Of course, I'm going to make this team. I'm one of the best players in the world. And even the people that get cut are some of the best players in the world, which is the craziest thing. So you go from that high of, I'm going to get this big contract to what's my next job? How am I going to provide for my family? So I appreciate you asking that, because it really hits home on days like this, because, we treat our athletes like they're gladiators, which in some ways they are, but at the end of the day, they're human, and it really hits.
There you go. Great stuff from Chad Van Horn.
Yeah.
And a request for Juice. You're getting media inquiries here, Juice. I'll go PR guy. Yeah, shoot us an email, okay? Shoot us an email, Cat in the Hat, and we'll just see what Juice's calendar looks like. All right.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss signing them up. All right, from the grave.
Too good.
Chad,
Who
got another
else
question
has got a
for you.
legal question?
Well, sure. I'd love to follow
Yeah,
up
somebody
on
else.
that one,
I
actually,
got one for him.
Oh, producer Sevach's got one.
if you don't mind. So, assuming, because we were talking about football players, so if a professional athlete then burns through all of their money, what are their options legally? And I don't know if you're privy to this information, but would you happen to know, I guess, on average, how often that happens? The professional athlete?
Believe it or not, the professional athletes 50% of the time file bankruptcy, and I see this quite often, and the number one reason that happens is, unfortunately, the people that are trusting with their money are not taking care of their money, and you guys know these athletes, again, have to be completely focused on their craft. They don't have time, unfortunately, to spend hours with accountants and hours with lawyers. So they have to be able to trust the people that are around them while they are working on their craft. And, a lot of people talk about it's the athlete's fault. It's really not the athlete's fault. It's the people that are around them that they entrust. So that's what I see. And for the athletes, and I work with many athletes, so obviously a lot of retired athletes come down here and live in South Florida, because why wouldn't you live in South Florida? So I've had the fortune of working with a lot of these athletes that have gotten into different types of legal trouble and helping them through it. So I always tell the athletes, there's always a way out of it. You just gotta talk to somebody that you can actually trust to work through those issues.
So we just got 2 questions in the chat here. The first one I think might be light work, and the second one we'll follow up with. So the first one from Sam, of course: how do I emancipate myself from my children? I don't know that you want to touch that.
Well, I mean, there are certain countries out there that they can't get money from you. You just move away and just move all your assets to that country. I'm not going to tell you what country. I'm going to leave that to you, because I don't know if I support this endeavor. I haven't met your kids.
We'll keep an eye on Sam's travels, and we'll see if he checks any of those boxes. I just read, my wife showed me somewhere, some guy faked his death in a canoeing accident or kayaking accident, and it turned off he was just running for the hills. And really not something we should laugh about. All right. So we've got two questions that now he hits us with the as a broke professional comedian. What are some schools? All right. So Sam's daughter wants to go to Stanford and be a lawyer. And then Dolphins also wants to know what's the best advice to give a freshman in high school, his son, not him, who wants to be a lawyer. So you've got two questions about people whose kids want to get into the legal field. Give them some direction, because you certainly had a successful career, and it's, I shouldn't say have, and it's still rolling. So what is some advice you can give to some of these young lawyers that are in the works?
Yeah, I'm fortunate where through Big Brothers Big Sisters, through NSU, through local colleges, I'm actually teaching law at University of Florida coming up in the spring semester. So I get to mentor the next generation. The number one thing, and I think you guys will agree with this for all of your professions, is if I was younger in high school or even in college, find somebody that is successful in what you want to do and offer to carry their bags, offer just to be around them. Whatever internship, whatever clerkship that looks like, just being around that greatness and seeing what success is and seeing how they do it, seeing what their day-to-day is, because it's easy to, watch on TV and just see OJ scoring touchdowns, but seeing him wake up early, put in the reps, it's easy to read Chris's columns and say, oh, well, that's easy. Anybody can do that. But seeing him getting the information, digging in how he's getting that information, because not just anybody would trust it. Seth, same with you.
That's right.
Seth, same with you. Like just showing up at a great charity event and saying, man, this is incredible. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
And unless you follow somebody around, you just think, well, of course that's how it happens. Unless you follow somebody around and see how that actually is made. And same thing with me. I've had many interns and law clerks. They just want to come to court with me, see my preparation, see how I'm going to make my arguments. And then I introduce them to the judge afterwards. And then some like, I want to be a judge. I'm like, hell yeah, that's a great career. You should become a judge.
Chad, even at the high school level, do you have interns that are at the high school level in your office?
Absolutely. I start my interns at the high school level. I take college interns and I take law school interns. And I even have people that have graduated law school that got into a career that they didn't like, that said, hey, I just want to come and be a clerk for you because this seems like something I want to do. I don't want the full pressure of being a lawyer at this point. I just want to learn and just recreate my career from here. It's never too late, because if you're doing something that you hate, you should change it.
Yeah.
Like we all, have to do things that we might not like, but if you're not doing something that you love, figure out a way to get into doing something that you love, you're passionate about. And I think the finances will come along with that, especially if you have the luxury of being a young person that doesn't have to necessarily provide for a family or have to make the money right now. You'll make the money eventually if you get into something you love and you learn from somebody that's successful.
Well, Sam's kids are going to have to make the money because he's about to ditch them.
Hey, Seth, just like you did with, your kids and your career in sports thing, where you guys went all through all the stadiums, you were at I saw you guys at the Marlins game.
Yep.
I know you guys were at the Panthers Arena at Emirates Bank and things like that. Chad actually had me come to his office where he had a group of high school kids that were, considering, getting in the law field. And I talked to those kids, and it's like he always, he just took his whole office to Disney. You know what I mean? He's always doing things like that for a big scavenger hunt. But he tries to keep his kids his kids, which is amazing. And but he's one of the best guys that I know in terms of like keeping it lighthearted, knowing that what he does and what their business is really serious. But he had, was it Chad about? Yeah, I think he had like 25, 30 kids there, different rooms, because they don't just do bankruptcy law. They do all kinds of stuff in his office. So they were going from boardroom to boardroom, listening to these different people, man. It was a pretty awesome experience for sure.
Hey, Chad, I got a legal question that could help other people. So, I live in a condo, and you know what's going on with the condos right now since the collapse of Surfside. You have to get your certifications. We're getting our 60-year certification, but what happened was we had a crook running our office, and this person had two sets of books, and so our we don't have any financials. The building couldn't get a loan. The condo couldn't get a loan. So a lot of our owners it was up to us to get our own loans. I had a $40,000 assessment, but my question to you is,
damn baller.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I didn't say it's been paid. I didn't say I might be coming to you for something else, Chad. But let me say this. How do we go about recouping? How do we go after that phony manager that was running this place? Should we forget about it? It's taken so long, and this person has not cooperated with us, and we just decided we've got to table that because the deadline to get these condo repairs is fast approaching. So we had to do that. Should we keep trying to pursue this person and what could we recoup, or is it better to just let that go?
So the first place I would look is there E&O, director's E&O insurance, which a lot of boards will have just in case something like that. That way you're guaranteed to collect. If there's no insurance, then you have to see, is that person collectible? Because unfortunately in legal scenarios, so many people get so emotional because they've stolen from you, right? And you're upset.
Right.
But sometimes it's a sunk cost because that money's gone. Like we talked about earlier, we're in South Florida. Like people can burn through money, and usually it's the scumbags like that are the ones that are burning through money doing bad things. So that's what you need to consider is how much money can we actually recoup from doing this, because you're going to spend money on lawyers,
right,
and you're going to pay real dollars, and you might get paid back in make believe dollars. You can get $1 million judgment, a $10 million judgment, but you might never see that money unless there's a pot of gold out there. So if you can get an attorney doing it on contingency basis, and some of the attorneys will do their own due diligence to see if it's collectible, and then you hire them on a contingency, and then there's no downside for you because they'll take their third 33% of whatever they collect. If you can find that, that's great. But if not, if every attorney is telling you I'm not taking this on contingency, that means they don't think they're ever going to collect. So I would just focus on let's rebuild, because a lot of homeowners, unfortunately, that are on fixed incomes are having to sell their condos because they can't just come up with $40,000, and because of the interest rates, they can't get a loan. So this is a real problem in South Florida that a lot of people are dealing with, unfortunately.
Yep, I got your number. I might have to call you on another matter pretty soon. We'll see.
Well, don't worry, he'll find you, Perk, if you don't reach out.
I might have a conflict of interest. I might have a conflict of interest though with this lawsuit I'm filing against you, Chris. I don't know what to talk about this. We might get a waiver.
Yeah, we'll discuss this off air. That is too good. That is too great stuff from Chad Van Horn, Van Horn Law Group. We're grateful for your support of the Fish Tank and certainly all this valuable information. So thank you for that for sure. We're going to wrap this thing up here in just a second. What's the string? Oh, well, listen, that's a good question.
That was actually going to be my next question before you.
Well, we got to get it in then. I won't cut it off there. The people want to know, of course, Sam wants to know, what's the strangest case you've ever worked on? Was it a guy who tried to emancipate himself for his own children, or was there something stranger?
Believe it or not, it was very close to that. That's the craziest part. So I had a client that came in, this nice young lady. She went to NYU. I'll never forget it. She went to NYU and she had hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans. And she had a co-signer, her dad. And her dad was suing her to get paid back for these student loans that she couldn't pay.
Oh,
Wow.
And I had to talk to this gentleman because he was representing himself. And he was suing her for fraud, that's saying that she fraudulently signed, and that wasn't true. She was 18 at the time she went there. She didn't even know what was going on. And I was like, if you move forward with this, there's criminal elements to this, because this is hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he didn't care. And he was suing his 22-year-old daughter, who just graduated from NYU, which most people would be celebrating. I get it. But man, money
celebrating.
Man, money just really can break up family. I felt so bad. I represented the daughter pro bono. I represented her for free. I was like, nah, we're not losing this case, because if you lose this case, then there will be a criminal investigation in this as well. Because if it's like 5,000, 10,000, maybe not, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we ended up winning, and fortunately, I was able to get the debt with the student loans settled. And they ended up getting back together. But I thought that was the craziest thing, that you're suing your daughter who just graduated from NYU. Like, that's insane.
It is crazy. And you said he represented himself. So generally speaking, is that advised or no representing your club?
Man, I destroyed this guy. Like, it wasn't like seriously. Like, it's like, do you advise me to like go play football against professional football players?
Right.
Chad, I've always heard the person who represents themselves has a fool for a client.
Idiot for a client.
Yeah, like
There it is.
The best thing you can do is definitely, like, I talk shit all the time. It's like, yeah, I could guard Tyreek. I would never step on the field and actually try it.
Great stuff, Chad. Perk, we're going to wrap this thing up and let you go. I think the Dolphins rival uniforms might have been leaked, so you're going to have to get on that and tweet about it. Speaking of Perk on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, he's at Chris Perk. I like when you just are bored and just say you're going to answer questions for an hour. That's when I get all my material to call you about. It's either that or your podcast. Speaking of which, are we going to get rolling on the when is the podcast going to start having a regular schedule?
When regular season starts. So we got another one scheduled for Friday at noon, but once the season starts, it's going to be Tuesday at noon.
Tuesday at noon. Juice, there is not much that gets me more fired up than going on my old man walk and listening to an episode of Chris Perkins on Deep Dive with Perk. I'm calling him. He knows what I'm calling about. I'm huffing and puffing already because I'm old and out of shape, and I'm hollering at him, and it's great material to get him on the show. So thank you for your time and for being a great support.
Always.
Thanks to the whole crew here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Let's do it again.
No doubt.
All right.